Alright, hello everyone. Thank you for coming back to my channel for another video. This time we're going to be talking about why writing is such an important skill and what I think you can gain from practicing the skill. So let's get into it. So some context for this video, it's going to be pretty similar as far as the point my argument is coming from, let's say. It'll be pretty similar to the video I made on why reading is important. For starters, I think most people aren't told that writing, like reading, is perhaps the most important and useful tool in their toolbox as far as how they can actualize their full potential and achieve their goals. But why aren't people told this? Writing is a fundamental skill. It's something most students began doing when they were 5 or 6 years old. So you can imagine how, a high school English teacher doesn't necessarily think that it's their job necessarily, or even that it is something that needs to be done. This idea of explaining to people, explaining to their students why writing is something that's worth their time, why it's something that they should practice outside of the classroom. But another reason why I think people aren't told how useful writing can be and why they don't do it more often is because most of their experience with writing is academic writing. And I think academic writing, if we consider academic writing, writing that's done in an in-class format, let's say, that kind of writing is rarely concerned with benefiting students beyond the context of the classroom. Academic writing, to be brutally honest, is stupid and it's ridiculous and it's not at all personally beneficial to most students, in my opinion. Really, most academic writing is first and foremost busy work. What determines the kind of writing that can be done is what kind of writing can then be gradable. And I think this is why most people's experience with writing is, the kind of 5-paragraph MLA formatted essay. And I really think this is, kind of the way it goes for most subjects when we think about the modern day school system. It's a closed loop system that tests for intelligence in a particular subject in such a way that is more concerned with, let's say, gradability than it is with applicability. And at the risk of, going down a rabbit hole, this brings me to a big problem as I see it with the state of K through 12 and higher education. And I'll talk about this in a future video, but it's how education, which was historically, I think, a kind of cognitive apprenticeship, has become a multi-trillion-dollar self-sustaining industry where achievement is measured with subject-specific competency that's rarely useful outside of the classroom. Again, though, that'll be for a different video. I don't want to get sidetracked now. Let's keep moving. So back to writing. The point that I am trying to make is that in order to understand the benefits that practicing writing in your spare time can offer you beyond the classroom, we have to divorce the subject itself and the far-reaching utility that it can offer. We have to divorce that from the academic environment that's really destroyed its reputation and kind of undermined what people think its primary benefit can be. So really quickly, I'll just kind of qualify myself. I'm a second-year graduate student earning my MFA. I want to someday write books. It really is my greatest passion in life. Almost every day for the last 6 years, I've written at least 2 hours per day. I've been writing much longer, but only over the course of the last 6 years has it become something that I've really gotten serious about and kind of sunk my teeth into. So like I said, writing is what I'm passionate about. It's what I love doing, and the writing process has drastically improved my life. It's a skill that I've grown with and that's colored my life, and I want to give what I've learned to others because I think writing is one of maybe 2 subjects that can increase everybody's chances of achieving their goals and actualizing their full potential. So that's really what I want to drive home. There are three categories that I'll be using to talk about how I think writing can help you. There's a personal category, a communication category, and a career category. In this video, I'll be talking mainly about the first one, just kind of giving a general overview of how writing can benefit you personally, and in the future I'll release videos about how it can help to improve your communication skills, as well as help you to actualize your career goals. So, starting with the personal benefits, I'm going to be talking about 4 tightly linked ways why I think, or why I've come to understand, writing can be something that is personally beneficial. The first way writing can help you develop yourself is through its unique ability to establish a dialogue between your conscious mind and your subconscious. Let's unpack that. What exactly do I mean? It means using language to give form to your thoughts. Doing that marks the first step toward kind of, mentally organizing yourself. And there's a Carl Jung quote that I like to reference when I talk about the benefits writing can offer to my students, and that's, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you'll call it fate. And I bring this up because it emphasizes the importance of giving form to the thoughts and ideas that will inevitably direct your life. And I'll kind of use that point as a segue into my next idea, which is giving form to our thoughts is important because, as paradoxical as it may sound, we actually don't know what we think until we write it down. The act of writing is inherently about separating your ideas and your opinions from yourself, and to thereby expose your ideas to scrutiny, be that personal or public. And this opportunity to analyze what would otherwise be your unseen thoughts, I think kind of goes to show how writing can function as a sort of meditative exercise that trains us to slow down and to zoom in on a single thought, and consequently putting a stop to the associative waves that inevitably dominate our train of thought throughout the day. And what I mean by that is basically the tendency to, for one thought to flow into another. Writing, by allowing us to, precisely document our thoughts, makes our thoughts into something concrete, something that we can distance ourselves from and objectively analyze and kind of break apart. And that, I think, is the beginning of what could potentially be a lifelong learning process. Writing can be a way of consciously focusing our mind on an important thought or opinion. And being able to do that not only makes problem solutions more probable, but it will help you organize and sharpen your ideas. And maybe most importantly, it will increase the likelihood that you'll be able to consciously reference what you've privately practiced and given form to. To spend time writing is to spend time deconstructing and reconstructing your own ideas. And what that means is when you, put your pen or pencil down and go out into the real world, you're going to be more likely to draw upon whatever it was that you were kind of breaking down. Writing offers us a unique opportunity to almost simulate the problems that we're likely to encounter in the real world. It's kind of like the real world experience of, let's say, watching like a video game level on YouTube be played before you actually play it yourself. And I know that maybe sounds kind of silly, but just bear with me, because the greater point that I'm trying to make is that by using writing to simulate some potential high stakes environment, you're going to be more likely to draw on the concrete and clearly articulated ideas that you laid out while you were writing. And that's going to give you a better chance at really manipulating the fabric of reality so that it kind of bends in your favor. And this idea brings me to my next point, which is, I think the best way to remember something is to write it down. So let me lay out a common experience. I use Twitter and You know, at the end of the day, let's say I try reflecting on the tweets that I read throughout the day, and if I read, you know, hundreds of tweets, the reality is when I lay down to go to bed, I'm probably only going to be able to consciously recall, you know, a dozen if I try really hard. And, you know, the reality is I'm not going to be able to like recite the exact wording from memory. And if I watch a dozen YouTube videos, you know, maybe I consciously recall a few, and, you know, beyond that, maybe I can only pick out a line or two from something that I learned, which is terrible because, you know, being able to learn depends so greatly upon our ability to remember, to consciously recall and draw upon information. And this is where writing comes in. I used the examples of Twitter and YouTube to kind of prove a larger point, which is that we as people don't realize the tens of thousands of thoughts that fly through our heads every day. Writing is how we can document what's of the greatest importance. So I'm not suggesting that, you know, you want to or have to, you know, memorize all the tweets that come across your timeline, or that you want to memorize YouTube videos as you listen to them. But using writing is how you can document what is of the greatest importance. That can be the first step toward building a better life for yourself. The act of writing itself is all about, you know, constructing ideas. It's using language to construct something larger. So the act of writing itself is the metaphorical equivalent of, you know, using bricks to build a brick wall. And this leads me to my next point, which is possibly the most important point I'm going to make, and that's writing is how we sharpen our ideas. And more specifically, it's how we practice articulating ourselves. I teach a reading and writing intensive course to undergraduate students, and the class is centered around fiction and poetry. The majority of my students have no interest in being a novelist or a poet, and that's okay. The point that I try to get across to them in class is that writing, whether it's done creatively or autobiographically, is a rehearsal of linguistic composition. And the reason I try to drive this home to my students is because language, speaking and conversing, is the musical instrument that we're all playing. You can imagine a guitarist improves their ability to create and play music by practicing. And it's really the same thing with writing. Unfortunately, I don't think most people are taught to think about their ability to communicate, to talk with other people, as being a kind of art form that's akin to music. And that's a shame. As soon as you understand writing and articulating yourself as skills that are rehearsable, you can take ownership of the development of that skill and streamline your developmental process. Your voice, our voices, are our instruments. To articulate yourself well is to act harmoniously in the world. And what that looks like is using language, both written and spoken, to manipulate reality in your favor as time unfolds itself before you. By practicing writing, which is fundamentally the ability to articulate yourself and to communicate with others, you are making yourself more powerful. You are making yourself more able to achieve your goals and to actualize your full potential. And this is why, if you're serious about wanting a better future, you must practice writing every day, even if it's only for 20 minutes at a time. You know, if we kind of break down the numbers, 20 minutes a day is 140 minutes a week. And, you know, 52 weeks in a year times 140, it's like upwards of 7,000. So it comes out to somewhere around like 120 hours. That's the kind of dedication that is going to distinguish you from those around you, who you're inevitably in competition with to get what it is that you want. Hundreds of hours of practice, no matter what field, is going to pay off. And at the end of the day, almost every job depends upon the clear formulation, articulation, and implementation of an idea or a service. So that's what I'm trying to get at when I tell you why I think writing is so important. Whatever career you're trying to make work, whatever path you're on, being able to sharply and clearly articulate your ideas to other people is going to give you an advantage. So to summarize, practicing writing is important because it gets your thoughts out of your head, and that allows you to meditate on a single, well-articulated iteration of that thought, which is to say, when some kind of form is given to an idea, it can be reflected upon without spiraling and growing into something else. It becomes something concrete. When you write a sentence down, it is only that sentence. And I know that I'm speaking kind of abstractly now, but you can imagine how a single idea can lead you down a rabbit hole if you follow the train of thought. And when you practice writing something down, when you practice getting your ideas on the page, there's a limit to the scope that the idea can then take on. Next, writing is a meditative exercise, allowing what is unconscious or at least not fully understood to become known and to thereby be integrated into one's memory for conscious recollection. And that's to say, if you want to remember something, write it down. If you know that you have a big job interview coming up in the future, write down what you think it will look like. Prepare answers in advance. That's what I mean when I say that writing is kind of a way of simulating the future in a way. And again, writing is a way of teaching ourselves what we actually think. Through this process of reflection and analysis, we acclimate ourselves to the ideas that govern us. And we sharpen our ideas. We become better thinkers as a consequence, and we become more able to engage with the world around us. And that's the kind of skill that is useful beyond the classroom, that's useful at any job, in any household. It's how we can incrementally transform ourselves into better people. So that's all I got. I want to thank everyone for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, subscribe. Also, I want to give a quick shout out to my video editor. I am grateful for you, Joey. I use Spicy Guy. But anyways, bye guys. If you found this video useful or interesting or whatever, leave me a comment. Have a great rest of your day.